for tuning in to December 30th Lunch and Learn at 12:30. There's some synchronicity for you. And wanted to give a cool shout out to Mellow Mushroom and Michelle in catering over there. Thanks so much for all you do for Music Compound. And go and grab one of their hot, fresh pizzas over on Ammy Trail. Perfect for the winter. All right, welcome to the Lunch and Learn. We have curated some tips for you. Hope you enjoyed this video. There's tips from all over the place, starting with Berklee College of Music.
Tom, I just wanted to ask, have you any advice or top tips for any upcoming musicians or any kind of wisdom you'd like to share?
Of course. I think the key, have you ever heard of this theory about the 10,000 hours theory? Yes. Yeah. So that theory works, right? So well, when I first started out, I came from writing a song a day or 2 songs a day or 5 songs a day and just getting all these songs out of me, doing a million gigs, sometimes 3 gigs a day. We did 6 gigs a day one year at Glass.
Don't practice what you know, practice what you don't know. You always want to keep learning new things, whether it's new scales, new arpeggios, new melodic patterns.
There are many theories that attempt to quantify the number of hours, days, and even years of practice that it takes to master a skill. While we don't yet have a magic number, we do know that mastery isn't simply about the amount of hours of practice. It's also the quality and effectiveness of that practice. We usually think of rhythm as an element of music, but it's actually found everywhere in the world around us. From the ocean tides to our own heartbeats, rhythm is essentially an event repeating regularly over time.
never forget, Alex and I used to go to every concert at the Forum in LA, and Led Zeppelin's playing, and Jimmy Page is going like this. He's going. Okay, so he's got his hand up in the air, and I'm going. So basically, I just moved the nut. Okay, so if I'm playing an A. So that's. And then harmonically doing. So it's just harmonics by tapping.
Screenshots coming up for the key of E minor. Minor, if you're at a piano or a guitar, is a great key to just doodle around with, get your fingers moving. Screenshots of E minor. What we're going to do is look at 5 notes right now. Just E, F sharp, which is the first one of the black key triplets. If you don't know the names of the notes yet, that's okay. Black key triplets, first one. Then just play the 3 white keys that are beside it, G, A, B. These 5 notes, there are so many songs that are written with those 5 notes. Carol of the Bells. What child is it? Hanako, Hanukkah. Break, when we don't have an instrument in front of us, is going to be, so your hands will start in a prayer position. Extend them to what we call an energy ball, fingertip to fingertip. Just bring those in, kind of press them in. At first it's not too comfortable because it's kind of like bone to bone. Keep pressing and then let them collapse into prayer position. Gently bend the wrist back, not to the point of straining, just a good backwards wrist bend. You can feel the blood flowing in the forearms. Goes back to energy ball. Repeat this process 2 or 3 times. And then another 2 or 3 times during the day. As you're traveling, you're sitting on a plane. It's those kind of arpeggios. That's what it's from. It's from those exercises. It's also from practicing and really the actual practice of slowing it all down, plotting my every move. That's how you get those fast results, and it's fun to play. So what you can do is take a chord and go for that. Go for each inversion of that chord. So, for instance, E minor. We've got the EGB. Both hands, every octave. Every octave. Really enjoy it. Now another inversion would be GBE, the first inversion. These can be played as chords or arpeggios or a combination. Here's my chord. Here's my arpeggio. That's a good way to practice. So eventually you can mix and match chord progressions. All that kind of jamming is from learning the chords, learning the arpeggios, doing these type of exercises. These are the kind of things that you can focus on when you don't have time to actually sit there and dig into a song, look at all the sheet music and everything. That's a tip for you so that when you do come back, you will have had these little micro pockets of practice between hand exercises, finger dexterity, some chords, some arpeggios. This is one of my favorite tips for keyboard students of any age and just about any level of keyboard that they have at home. Normally they'll have an auto accompaniment feature, and just by playing the bass notes and some drum beats, you can get a lot of enjoyment and really feel like you're in the music. This particular patch on my Yamaha Mox F8, if I play 3 different bass notes, here's what happens. So even with those 3 bass notes, it's already layered in some piano for me, a drum beat. There's nothing I even had to program. Now, this is a little more advanced, more intermediate, but if we took 3 chords, E flat, B flat minor, and F minor. Now these could be any 3 chords. They could be super simple for, first year beginner, but for right now I'm going to use this example of these 3 chords. Here it is without the auto accompaniment feature. Here's with. Most of you probably know that that's Coldplay Clocks, the chords for that. But let's take this sound, could be any auto accompaniment type sound on your keyboard at home, and let's just take 3 simple chords. Let's take the EGB that we were looking at earlier. EGB, let's go with CEG, and then just move everything up 1 more white key to DFA. So those 3 chords again. So we've got EGB. Go ahead and play those with me if you're at a keyboard or a guitar or a ukulele. There's CEG. We're just moving them all up 1 white key at a time. Now if you're super beginner right now, you can go ahead and use 2 hands. It doesn't even matter. Just as long as you use 3 different fingers So each key has its own finger. Now once you've run through those, you can boot up, you can start your auto accompaniment feature. So you can hear just by playing 3 different chords with an auto accompaniment feature on just about any keyboard, you're going to get a satisfying kind of groove to play with and practice your timing as well. What to do is find out where the bass drum sound is. Normally it's on a low C, and then the snare is going to be right next to it. Normally it's going to be a D. Above that, first one of the black key triplets, the F sharp. Those 3, all it takes to make an interesting beat is literally you can go in a row. You can practice that and just get faster with that coordination. Now once you've got that, let's start going boom, pa, cha, cha, boom, pa, cha, cha. Now that's a tip from Jared, our lead drum instructor. He encourages a lot of his students to not always relying on counting. And I love that tip. Boom, ka, cha, cha, boom, pa, cha, cha. So first we started with just 3 simple ones. Once you've got that pretty comfortable, after a while, pretty quickly, you'll be able to speed it up. Now let's double that hi-hat. So it's boom, chak, pap, pap. So you might be saying, hey, I play guitar. I don't play drums. I play guitar. The cool thing with that is you can strum that pattern as well. So be thinking about these different things. If you've got a piano or a keyboard where you're at right now, go ahead and even if it's not a drum sound, take 3 different keys and start making a pattern with it. Let's say you're on an acoustic piano, but you don't really play piano. Let's just take 3 black keys, and we'll do that same type drum pattern. Just by doubling some of the rhythms, you can make a 3-note riff sound super interesting. Just by doubling, tripling, a couple of those notes in there, just kind of whatever you feel rhythmically at the time. So let's take another 3-note riff. 3 black keys. So I'm going to start doubling a couple. So this one, the first one got doubled. The middle remained single. And up there, the top one got doubled. So then do the best that you can to loop that. Find all the 3 keys. Find all those spots on the keyboard that you can try that pattern. And I guarantee you, even if you're just a guitar player, but you spend a short, focused pocket of time on these
kind of riffs, and that will affect your strumming when you get back to your guitar in a positive way. For beginning piano students is to experiment with the dynamics. All that means is loud, soft, and everything in between. Let's say we're taking the C, E, G. A lot can happen just with dynamics. So instead of just coming up to the piano, there is a place for that and a time, but sometimes now you may be asking, okay, what were you doing with the left hand? All I was doing there is I was going C and G, and then I walked that down to A and E because those two chords are related. Let's just stick with those for a second. And up here, instead of just all loud, we mix up the dynamics and we go. Now my pedal is down. Left hand comes back up. Let's try that up an octave. Here's what the left hand's doing, just 2 notes at a time. And the right hand. The more chords that you learn, then you can start applying that same technique to your chord playing, and I'm going to demonstrate what that could sound like. So right now that's 4 chords. Experiment with dynamics, experiment with your cross-handed arpeggios. Most of all, have fun.
All right, wanted to review some of these tips on into the new year. You want to create an awesome atmosphere. So, like this ukulele that I'm playing, I leave that out and accessible. So at any time I can just strum, warm up. Okay, we went through those finger and hand exercises. Have a goal, learn a new chord, learn a new rhythm. Identify some of the problems that you might have and isolate and work on those a little. If you're having a little problem with rhythm, sit down and carve out even just 5 minutes to just breathe, get centered, and start jamming along with your favorite song. Try to even just play 1 chord with your favorite song in rhythm. That can teach you a lot and give you a lot of great experience. Want to remember to write on your music, bring your sheet music, bring your theory books, write every day on those music, and also record yourself wanted to show you a fun piece. If I can get this over there, having a little switcher issue, there we go. So that's the screenshot from GarageBand, just to show you, even if you don't have an instrument with you, pull up GarageBand app. You can play through any of these chords. That's called the smart chord option. It's really fun. Also, you've got here, you can literally play a fretted instrument on GarageBand. It's not quite the same thing, but it's going to give you a nice perspective of thinking about the frets and where they are. That's part of that mental rehearsal that you want to do. So in GarageBand, you know, you can select all types of guitars, strings, drums, keyboard instruments. It just has the gamut. You can see just a sampling there of so many different ones that I personally have gotten into. And so thanks again for joining us, and looking forward to the new year with each of you. Here's a few more of those first tips right before we go, just in case someone is tuning in that wasn't here right before. We'll wrap up with these Berklee tips, and have an amazing 2021. Get outside, be refreshed. That app is called Tonality, available on iOS. Great app that I use in instruction all the time.
Hi, I'm Tom. I just wanted to ask, have you any advice or top tips for any upcoming musicians, or any kind of wisdom you'd like to share?
Of course. I think the key. Have you ever heard of this theory about the 10,000 hours theory? Yes. Yeah. So that theory works, right? So well, when I first started out, I came from writing a song a day, or 2 songs a day, or 5 songs a day, and just getting all these songs out of me, doing a million gigs, sometimes 3 gigs a day. We did 6 gigs a day one year at Glass.
Don't practice what you know. Practice what you don't know. You always want to keep learning new things, whether it's new scales, new arpeggios, new melodic patterns.
There are many theories that attempt to quantify the number of hours, days, and even years of practice that it takes to master a skill. While we don't yet have a magic number, we do know that mastery isn't simply about the amount of hours of practice. It's also the quality and effectiveness of that practice. We